dragging the meditation out, because meditation is an act of seclusion, not a social activity. So when you come to something like this, you come to learn the technique, but it's actually homework. You have to go home to practice with somebody. Why is it an act of seclusion? Well, the first thing you do is seclude the body. You seclude the body away from extra activity, stillness of body. The body is secluded from strain. Then you allow the mind to become secluded from being busy, from running around on this and that, and the sense gates being distracted. So in normal life, all of our senses are active. In meditation, we try to tone down and only use one sense gate to rest on one single object. So it's a deeper level of seclusion, the deeper we go. As you enter into basic shamatha and through to jhana, the level of seclusion gets deeper and deeper. Then when we begin to practice vipassana and realize the liberating insights, the mind becomes secluded from the mental defilements, all the way up until the level of arhat, and we're completely secluded from mental defilements, and it's the perfection of seclusion. So this is why when we come to a group meeting, the true purpose is to listen to the Dhamma, and then you go home and practice the path of seclusion. Seclusion doesn't mean you have to live alone within a tree or a cave. It means secluding the mind from that which is unskillful. So all of you come here obviously for a certain reason, which is personal, but still I'm going to ask some of you why we're here. So I'll start with you. What is it you want from this? Not just me, from Toby and everything.
Be free from suffering.
Okay, good answer. Anyone else? Anything specific? To calm the mind, to get past stress? If it's just to become free from suffering, then that's the ultimate answer. So when we say dukkha, the word dukkha, often translated as suffering, if we look at it, what does it really mean? I prefer stress. So, we cannot be suffering, so to speak, but we can be under stress. It becomes semantics, really. But all movement, all activity is stressful. Lifting up your arm puts stress on the muscles, on the skeleton, on the heart. Thinking is stressful. It puts stress on the brain. So the true meaning of stress, not meaning I'm stressed out and I can't cope, but actually dukkha is stress. That's why even blissful states are labeled as dukkha by the Buddha, because they are still an energy colliding with your awareness. So it's still a movement, a stress activity. So with that in mind, we know that stillness is pointing towards the way out of stress. We want to cultivate the way for stress to end, for the ending of dukkha. That's why we practice mental stillness, shamatha, stilling the body and stilling the mind, because it's less stressful than having an active body and an active mind. So when the mind runs around with 1,000 things, it's busy with work, it's busy with relationships, loved ones, friends, keeping up images and appearances, doing this and that, it's highly strung, highly stressed. There's a lot of activity, a lot of pressure, a lot of things going on, and we call it dukkha. When they become less, when we come home, we finish work, we're finished arguing with our spouse, everyone's letting us chill out, we can sit down on the couch and let go, there is less dukkha, there is less stress. And deeper again, if you enter shamatha, calm the mind, calm the body, peaceful feeling envelops the body. That peaceful feeling in meditation comes from seclusion of the body and seclusion of the mind. The more you become secluded, or the less stress, the less activity, the more pleasant the abiding is. So the shamatha, the calm abiding, the pleasant abiding, grows within your life. But we know that this is not good enough, because anyone that's experienced in meditation knows that meditation ends. You're sitting and it's blissful and it's wonderful, and then you come out, it just ends all on its own. And then when you come out and it ends all on its own, you have to go pee and shit, you have to go eat, you have to go to work, you have to deal with people that are a pain, life goes on. So activity happens to you again, and dukkha arises again. So there needs to be a more efficient way than trying to be perfectly still. even though we understand essentially the nature of dukkha is movement. So we want it to end, but we can't make it end. If just making movement end with the ending of dukkha, then we could just let off a bomb and there would be sukha. We would just all die and that would be the end and that would be awesome. There would be no dukkha. But unfortunately it's not that simple because activity just starts again. There's no end to be found. So we need to find a way that's more intelligent that actually works in the long run. Practicing meditation for stillness is extremely important and extremely skillful. But its downfall is that it's anicca, it's impermanent, it comes to an end. Why does it come to an end? It comes to an end because it's dependent on causes and conditions. When you sit down with your legs crossed on the mat, if the mat's not too hard, not too soft, your back's straight and you don't have a back injury, if you don't have a runny nose and you can breathe that day, you don't have a cough and there's no music going on, there's no crying baby, maybe you can enter shamatha and find stillness. But if any of those things are there, you can't enter shamatha. Have you ever tried to enter samadhi with a cough, with a runny nose, with a really sore back, when there's rocks in your cushion? There are so many variables, causes and conditions that are innately unreliable which will come in and interfere with your practice. This is the nature of reality. It cannot be depended on. We cannot depend on cause and condition. Life around us does not fit our ideals of being peaceful just because I want to be a meditator. Oh, I want to be a meditator, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Thailand and learn Dhamma and practice samadhi. Then I'm going to enter a very deep jhana for hours and hours at a time, possibly days. The bliss will be ongoing, and I will know stillness and peace that is only known by the devas. But then you come and you've never been to a more noisy place in your life. This is just the way life is. Conditions are impermanent, changing, and unsatisfactory or stressful. They don't do what we want. So we need to find a better way. What is that better way? The better way is vipassana. Vipassana, or to see things clearly. Often translated as insight, which I think is misleading, because we think of insight as like a ding, the little light bulb comes on moment when we have an insight. But that's not what vipassana is. Vipassana is to see reality as it is. It's not a ding moment. It's an ever-present, clear lens of consciousness. When consciousness constantly recognizes the truth, the Dhamma, we call this vipassana. So, what is the stillness that we're looking for? We're looking for the jnana, the knowing quality, the awareness to become still in seeing truth. So it's always there, seeing the truth. Not getting distracted and running off and seeing that which is not true. So our awareness gets caught in the body. So you're sitting here meditating and the knees hurt, or the hips hurt, or your back hurts, and the awareness runs to your knee or your hip or your back. This is the awareness not being still on the way things are, but running off onto the way we think things are. We call this delusion. So the knowing quality runs off and gets busy with the world. The world is these five senses and the mind. It runs off with everything that we experience and gets caught up. It runs off with our emotions, our thoughts, feelings in the body, and gets caught. The knower is not still, the knower is busy. It runs around like a monkey. So it is dukkha, it is stressful. It doesn't have any ease or any rest. So vipassana is the stilling of the awareness and the clarifying of the awareness to see the way things are. To see impermanence, to see stress, and to see not self. We call this the path of vipassana. In some traditions they talk about the union of samatha and vipassana, the union of tranquility meditation and clear seeing. It's called the samadhi that is pleasing to the Buddhas. Why does it get such a grand title? Because that is actually attainment. When your vipassana has stillness, that means it's ongoing, it doesn't waver, it's constant. When it's constant, suffering cannot arise and you find the freedom from suffering. So this is the path in the practice in short. First, to calm, seclude the body. To calm and seclude the mind from other sense objects and thoughts, to simplify things, to let go. Gradually to allow the mind to become secluded from the mental defilements which cause us pain and cause pain to those around us. We do that by seeing the way things are. When you see things for what they are, you have a natural distaste for them. So when you see something rotten outside on the street, you have no desire to run over and get busy with it. You don't want to touch it, you don't want to go near it. It's rotten, it's unpleasant. When you begin to see that anger is something that's rotten and unpleasant, you see it for what it actually is, you no longer want to get involved with it. We want to get involved with it because we don't see its true nature. When we're deluded by things, they're attractive. When we see the truth of them, we naturally want to let them go. The defilements of the mind are like that. They seem attractive to us. Anger can feel empowering, lust feels blissful. The list goes on and on of our experience in this mind and body. The way we get caught up in it and we chase after the experience. But when that happens because we don't see the truth of it, we only see a mirage and we're deluded by it. In a lot of spiritual traditions they talk about, all is illusion. Life is an illusion. It's not true, it's not an illusion. This is real. This is all actually happening. But it is a delusion, which means that we are fooled by it. It's real, but we're fooled by it. It's different to an illusion. We are deluded by the way things are. We don't see the way they really are, and we're tricked by the way things are into thinking that which is painful is pleasant. So we chase after that which is painful endlessly, looking for pleasure and finding more stress over and over and over again. So we need to find a way to see that which is not stressful. First, intellectually you have to understand it, otherwise you're not going to go in the right direction. This is why you listen to Dhamma. This is why you read about Dhamma, and this is why we try to learn. But it's not good enough to know intellectually. It doesn't serve any purpose as far as removing suffering from our lives. Once we know intellectually, then we have to apply the practice. So we apply the practice first by practicing shamatha. When you calm the mind and still the body, you begin to see stress very clearly. Just sitting still, anyone that's honest with themselves and tries it for a very long time will discover a kind of stress that they never knew about. The stress of not adjusting your posture. Just do not change your legs, that's all. Just don't change your legs. So I do that for a few hours and you'll know all about what stress is. Then try doing that and also not adjusting or changing your mental posture. Keep the mental posture very still. So the mind and body are still. Now still means still, it doesn't mean fidgeting, adjusting, or having a little mental break and thinking about last night or tomorrow, or maybe I should do a different meditation or anything else. If you can abandon the desire for movement, you start to discover that movement is stress. Because it comes, even though you don't want it to come. So you have some stillness, okay, this is pleasant. Then the movement of blood and pain and something colliding. The friction of activity creates pain. And then the mind comes and you start thinking about something and it's painful. An example for me 2 days ago, somebody that's very dear to me from my past, a loved one, so to speak. I found out from a third party that they've been saying something very personal to me, about me, to people that I don't know, and inaccurately, which is, for a moment it arose quite painful, like I felt like I'd been stabbed by this person who was very important in my life. So the activity of me thinking about what this person had said caused me pain. But then I just allowed the mind to become still and not think about it and not worry about it and just let go, and there is no pain. The outer circumstance didn't change even slightly. He's still spreading the same rumors, still saying the same things. Same people are still listening. There's actually no difference. The only difference is that I am not under stress. There is no dukkha. The only time there's dukkha is when I get caught up in it, which means when the knower spins around with the activities of the world. When the knower just becomes still and goes, oh yes, he's just doing what he's doing because that is the way things are in this deluded state that we call existence, then it just rests. But when the knower runs off with if, but, maybe, because, we call that stress, dukkha, and suffering. The world is a flame, over and over, burning us up. Only with stillness can you find coolness and peace. First, stillness in the body. Even though the path is the path of the mind, we're here in this body, so to speak. You must cultivate the body to become still. The reason is, if you don't use the body as your vehicle, I guarantee you will fall into the path of delusion. The non-stillness in the microphone is stressful. So when the body is still, all kinds of pains will arise. Then you have an honest playing field for practice. Now you can see how you actually react to pain, to stress, to dukkha. But when you run away from dukkha subconsciously by making small adjustments in your posture all the time, and you think, oh, it's wonderful, I'm so comfortable, oh, I'm so free from suffering, but you don't know because the conditions aren't there for suffering to arise. So we can just gently run away all the time in the body. When we go to sleep at night and we adjust and move and turn, we're running away from pain in the body. When you sit on the couch and you move and adjust, you're running away from pain in the body. When you come home and you rest and you're empty for a moment and you're distracted and you want to watch TV, you're running away from pain in the mind. I know this one's boring, I want to change. Maybe I'll listen to some music, maybe I'll play Facebook. We're running away all the time. This attempt for the mind and body to constantly adjust is a subconscious instinct to escape from suffering. We always try to do it. You're born trying to escape from suffering, and most people do it till the day they die, and on and on. It's okay, it's natural, but the problem is it doesn't work. Wherever you run, it's right there waiting for you again. You cannot escape it. So the best test is to sit still. Just sit still. For anybody that's actually serious about meditation, I suggest you take the practice home and sit still. Don't worry about having peace. Don't worry about entering samadhi. Definitely don't worry about vipassana. Just sit still. Try it. Be honest with yourself and actually sit still for a long time. Not on the couch. Back self-suspended, not resting, not sleeping, no lying down meditation. Actually still. And try it and see how you go. It's a very raw reality check. There's nothing like simple practice in the body to show you what the reality of dukkha is. Otherwise we get caught up in ideas, okay, I'll spread compassion to the whole world. Yes, I must be a bodhisattva. Maybe I have unicorns beside me, and it's all peaceful and lovely and awesome, but oh, hold on, I can't even handle my knee hurting. So the problem with the spiritual world is the delusion can creep in a very powerful way. If you actually want to get somewhere with your practice, the best thing you can do is keep it earthed in reality. And the basic reality of our existence is our body. We are right here in it and you cannot escape it. In the Dhamma there is no out-of-body practice. We don't practice astral travel or escapism from the body. You're always in the body. Even entering jhana is not an out-of-body experience, it's a no-body experience. It's very different. The awareness never leaves. The Buddha says awakening can only be found in this 2-fathom long body or something like that. Here in this body. Here. So when you're practicing, try not to change. Just practice that. Then when you practice samadhi, you're allowing the mind to not change. That's all it is. Breath meditation, what do? You rest the mind on the breath. When is it a mistake in breath meditation? When the mind changes away from the breath, when you change the mental posture. Whatever meditation you're doing, the error is always the same thing, the movement. Rest the mind on the job at hand. I use this word rest very carefully. Do not focus the mind on the job at hand. In a lot of texts they translate samadhi as concentration. It is truly a disaster. It is not concentrating. You do not concentrate in meditation. You let go. How can letting go and concentrating be the same thing? So concentrating is like holding this really hard. I'm never going to let go. Holding. My meditation's really good. It's awesome. Until you get really tired and it starts shaking and it hurts, it doesn't work. But if I simply rest the thing on my head, I can stay there for a long period of time at peace. Rest the mind on the object, do not concentrate on the object. Allow the body to rest, allow the mind to rest. If you practice in this way, you will have progress. I practiced concentration for a long time. As somebody that's never had a nosebleed in my life, the only time I've had a nosebleed is while practicing samadhi. You concentrate till your nose bleeds, but it doesn't lead to peace. It doesn't work. You have to let go. The path is entirely in letting go of the busyness, letting go of the distraction, letting go of the defilements, to allow the awareness to be secluded and at ease. At ease. Not dis-ease, not suffering. Ease. Just let go. Okay. There are no little paper questions, so I'll ask for physical, mechanical ones. Anybody? I know you've always got some.
When we become super mundane, are there naturally physical changes that happen to us? Do we all smell like raspberries?
No. The super mundane, which means above, separated from, detached from, or beyond the world. Beyond the mundane. Which means that the knowing quality is no longer caught up with five senses and mind, the world. It's above them, so to speak, which really means separate from, secluded from, supra, detached from, liberated from, nibbanated from. So what you do get is peace. What you do get is insight into the way things are. And what you do get is a cessation of suffering. Even if the attainment is not complete, you still get a very peaceful existence and basically never suffer. Smelling like raspberries like Long Paul, well, that is a separate issue. When you develop the perfections, they have signs. So the Buddha said that virtue, the smell of virtue goes against the wind. Now, I never realized that was literal back in the day, but it actually is literal. Okay? The smell of virtue does go against the wind. So I remember I was waiting for Long Po in a monastery in Chiang Mai, and we were hanging around in the front of the temple, and it's like, I could smell him. Okay, I could smell him. But he had pulled in like a kilometre away at the back of the temple. It's like that. The smell goes against the wind, against space. It's virtue. So that is the perfections that we cultivate, the merit that we build up inside our mind-body continuum, which is very powerful. In the practice there is both developing and letting go. The metta meditation is developing, but the important part is actually applying it. So we could sit here and practice metta and feel wonderful and like a really open heart center and saturated with golden light. And then we walk outside, and the first person that does something that annoys us, we react with anger, rage, or distaste towards them. There's no metta. Metta has to be a function of action. It's not just something we imagine or build. It's just a key to get the feeling. Once you get the feeling, you have to use that feeling to react towards people. Use that feeling to serve people. Being kind towards people is incredibly powerful. If you do that enough, you develop the power of kindness, which is incredibly powerful. If you've ever known anybody that's genuinely kind, it's very hard to think anything ill about them. It's virtually impossible to do anything bad towards them. So people that are truly kind in this way become protected by their kindness, even just on a conventional psychological plane. They also become protected by the kindness because the devas and the invisible beings protect them and serve them. There's many layers that are unseen to most people. So the signs are not necessarily going to manifest in that way. Those signs are a result of your perfections. Where your attainment or achieving the supermundane, the sign is the end of suffering. The sign is peace. That's the sign that everyone that achieves that state will share. It's not like everyone will be beautiful or smell good or have good posture or anything else like that, because the body just follows its own nature. Anybody else?
I've been having like kind of every time that I'm under stress or anything, like being role.
Right.
And lately in my meditations I've been connecting with that, like looking to it. And in a few occasions I was really connected with that, and till the point that I got with the need of puking.
Okay.
So I just wonder
What it is?
yeah.
It could be many things. Is it in the center of your throat or on the side of your neck? Really? Whenever anything arises in meditation that's suffering, pain, or stress, the best thing you can do is, this might be what you're doing, is look into it, don't look at it. So you don't look at it, or think about it, or decode it, or why it, or what it, but you look deeply into its center. If you look for long enough and honestly enough at the center of something, the same thing always happens, and that it disappears. The reason is that the center of anything there is nothing but emptiness. So we begin to see clearly that there's really nothing there. The truth of it, the essence of everything, is emptiness. It's only when we see the outer garb, the manifestation, the change, the activity, that we think it's something real. When you look deeply enough, you see emptiness. Deep in. The same if you take a powerful microscope and you look at the table. If it's not very powerful, you see a table. Then if it's a bit more powerful, you see granules. A bit more powerful, you see atoms or whatever. But if it's powerful enough, you see nothing but emptiness. The closer you get, the deeper you get, the more you see emptiness. Emptiness is at the essence of everything. And the most effective method to get rid of anything is simply to look directly at it for a long period of time and with great honesty. The trick is to not judge it, not think about it, not think about why, and try to penetrate it more like looking at it with the microscope of your refined awareness. Shamatha meditation, when we still the mind, when we make the mind empowered by samadhi, the purpose of that is so that we have a better microscope to look at things. So that when we see clearly, we're seeing clearly with a powerful lens rather than with a crappy lens. It's quite important actually. So if you just practice trying to see clearly, seeing things, but your lens is weak, you see a very superficial level clearly. But if your lens is empowered by the practice of shamatha, your microscope is empowered by samadhi, then when you look, you penetrate right through past the atoms all the way to emptiness, to not self, and to nirvana. When you see this emptiness, it just falls away all on its own. In my experience, this is the most superior method for dealing with anything that arises, physical, emotional, or mental. The why, there are countless causes. The whys could be infinite. So it would be unwise for me to guess what it is. Anybody else? Okay.
Oh, just one question. When the knowing is observing something, like let's say physical stress or mental stress arising, and the knowing seems to be very close to the object, and that's when stress arises, it seems to be very difficult for me to withdraw.
Make the space?
Making the space, it's like it's getting sucked into it so fast, so
Yes.
easily. And so is that, do you have any tip on how to...
Well, you know what to do. The reason why we call them clinging aggregates is because the knowing clings to them. So the knowing wants to come close to the stress, to the dukkha. It's habitualized. It's been doing it since the beginning of time. That's a long time. So it's a really bad habit. Like if you've ever tried to break a 1 month habit, it's tough. This habit is, we can't find the beginning of this habit. So it's the hardest thing any being can ever do. So that's why it's so hard. But basically, don't try to make space, try to recognize the space. So even when two things are actually apparently stuck together, once again, if you look closely enough, you'll see they're not touching. There's space. So the mistake is to try and make space all the time between the knowing and the mental quality which is arising and causing dukkha. The correct way is to recognize that there already is space between the knowing mental quality which is causing dukkha. It's only 1 degree different, but 1 degree can be a lot. And if you can get into that space, the nature of space is that it's non-dual. It's only when there's an object that you can measure distance. Yeah? You need the two objects to measure the distance. If you're only aware of the space, you can't measure distance, so it can't be close or far. And this is how we start connecting to the non-dual aspect of it. Is that you don't just worry about the emptiness. Rest on the emptiness, not on the problem. Yeah. Like, we can fight the kileshas too much, see them and then rest in the emptiness. Then they end all on their own, rather than fighting, trying to push them away. It makes measuring. As soon as we measure, we're not satisfied with the way things are. It's aversion. It just leads to aversion. You have to accept the way it is, recognize emptiness, and then let go and chill out. Then do it again. Bullshit arises, the mind becomes stressed, you see it, you see the object, the awareness is going, oh, it's really close, I need to make it far away. No, just see the emptiness, let go and chill out. Over and over. Okay.
Move on. It's a kind of simple question, I guess. I'm here not because I want to be free from suffering, but because meditation helps me to achieve more pleasant states of mind. Let's say in normal everyday life, my mind is extremely scattered, or whatever. So through practicing meditation, it's all a bit more calm, a bit more nice, relaxed. So I do have a reason to meditate, but in a way I don't agree with. I don't see life as suffering.
That's normal.
Yeah, and of course, probably because I haven't looked close enough.
That's normal.
But if I'm fine with it, why should I look so close? I mean, I can accept that there's kind of a neutral state to have, and there is temporary happiness, there's temporary pain.
That's absolutely normal. That's why the Buddha didn't want to teach. Because most people think that life's just fine. That's normal. That's fine. But actually the peaceful state that you describe, that you like from meditation, is a partial escape from suffering. It's the same thing, it's just a matter of degrees. It's a natural, you can't force yourself to want nirvana or to think that life is suffering, but the more you look, the more you will realize it. That's normal too. The only time we don't realize it, and actually 99.99%, almost everybody doesn't realize it. It's normal. If we realized it, we wouldn't say we were deluded. If you didn't, we were all deluded to a certain extent, so we're all thinking that life isn't suffering to a certain extent. It's only somebody with enlightened sight, pure, clear seeing, that can see the nature of dukkha and everything very difficult. So it's completely natural. It's not a belief system or something you need to take on, not at all. The path is, and the practice is to cultivate yourself to look. Very scientific in that way. You don't need any preconceived idea about what you're going to find. You don't need to think, I'm going to see life as suffering. No, no, no. You don't need to think it's good, bad, ugly, or anything else. All you do is watch. That's all. When you still the mind like you do in basic meditation, which brings you to bliss, the camera, the lens of consciousness becomes more still. That's why it's at ease. Now when it's more still, it's like putting it on a tripod. It starts to see things more clearly. But when it's not still and it's stressed and it's shaking around, it can't see anything. The footage is blurry. So with time, with stilling the mind, you'll start to see things naturally. No one needs to force it, no one needs to take on any belief system or anything else. It's the most natural thing. Natural in that it's just a reality. The more you become still, the more you start to see suffering, even with the pleasant parts of life. Because the real changing point is when we start to see the unsatisfactory part of the pleasant parts of life. It's quite easy to see that, having your arms and legs sawn off is suffering, or the death of your loved ones or whatever, that it's suffering. But when you start to see the things that we think are happiness are suffering with you, it's a deeper level. In other words, the microscope is more powerful. You don't need to force it. The meditation makes your microscope more powerful. then insight arises. This is actually good. It's better than the opposite, when people have read a lot of Dhamma or they're really into it and they think, oh, life is suffering and this and that, and it's all just a mental construct, but really none of it's experience. It's counterfeit. Much more healthy to have a natural view than a counterfeit painted on spiritual view. There's nothing worse than that. And nothing will stop you from attaining quicker than that. Nothing. You get nowhere. You must be honest, naked. It's a path of being sincere with yourself, being very honest. It seems obvious, but most people that practice are not honest with themselves. They're often like fairyland. It's just a delusion. You must be honest. Look at yourself nakedly all the time. All the time. The more honest you can become, the more real your achievements will be. Real practice is honest. Honest and bitter. Most people aren't up for it. Okay. Thank you.